Yeah.
In your Joke Police video, you said, hey, dumbass, you did something stupid in the past. You could be criticized for it. So do you welcome that same kind of criticism back at you?
Totally, yeah. I think it's valid.
What we do here is go back.
I mean, ultimately, I think it's a good thing because I think I am meant to roll around in shit. I think me and Ethan are both meant to be rolling around in pig shit all day long. What's very insane about this content cop is I was thinking about Ethan's feelings so much in that video. I'm done being nice to Ethan. I gave it a chance. No, he doesn't need a hug. He needs a good fucking ass whooping is what he needs.
It's time to stop!
I'm so excited today.
I'm so excited!
Because we get to make a content cop on fucking iDubbbz. iDubbbz for the past couple of years has slowly fallen off. He went from being highly respected to somebody who's like the biggest joke on the internet right now. Especially with recent drama that's happened. But Kite Kuhn, what the fuck has happened recently? Well, I will tell you. I'm going to, first of all, recap the recent drama briefly, and then we'll get into what I'm mostly excited about, which is Ian's actual fucking content. So let's go over what's recently happened. iDubbbz had denounced his old content cop for being mean-spirited, in poor taste, and unempathetic because, as he said, he's grown empathy at the ripe age of 30. Also, he said something about not wanting to morally grandstand, which is really ironic. But yeah, he said that he was never gonna touch Content Cop again. Never in a million years, never gonna touch Content Cop. That is, until he did touch Content Cop again. Regardless of everything he said in the past, he decided to make a new Content Cop. Now, who is so bad, so deplorable that he just had to bring Content Cop back from the dead? Would you believe me if I said it was H3H3, aka Ethan, one of his longtime friends? Now I know I already covered this, so you probably already knew that, but for anybody who's just finding this video for the first time, hi, hello, iDubbbz had made a new content cop on H3H3, and as I said before, this piqued my interest because I was like, what has Ethan done that's so fucking bad that it had to revive Content Cop? Honestly, fucking nothing. Oh, no, there was something. There was a reason for why he made the Content Cop, and it was essentially to air out all of his dirty laundry, all of the beef that he now had with Ethan, because Ethan was calling him out for not, you know, standing up for him and Hila when there was a whole harassment campaign going on against him. And you remember what I just said about the whole, like, morally grandstanding thing, about, like, how he didn't really want to do Content Cop again because it was, oh, mean-spirited and in poor taste, it was unempathetic, and he was just such a bully. Well, guess what? Great news. Nothing has fucking changed. The new Content Cop was still mean-spirited, in poor taste, and very unempathetic. Good job, Ian. You nailed it on the head. Oh, but he added a little bit more flavoring to this Content Cop by adding in a little bit of manipulation and leaving out important details. It was a train wreck, and as you can see by the like to dislike ratio, it flopped horribly. And you'd think it would end there. You think he would be like, okay, my Content Cop wasn't really that great, nobody liked it, okay, time to leave this shit alone. No! He made a second video. He made a fucking follow-up video, a content deputy on Ethan. Because Ethan responded, of course, and brought up the fact that he left a lot of information out. He painted things in a way that seemed really disingenuous, calling Ethan's podcast an emotional dumping ground, like this toxic drama dump type of podcast, when most of the clips that were used for the argument were all from a podcast where Ethan and Hila were talking about how CPS was called on them. Obviously, they were very upset. The more stuff that came out, the more it just felt like Ian lied to all of us, which obviously didn't go over too well for him. There was a lot of backlash for everything that he said in the original Content Cop, and the content deputy wasn't much better. He just doubles down, trying to explain away why he didn't include certain information in, you know, the first video.
I wonder why I wouldn't mention the CPS call. Could it be that the CPS call happened the same day that you were shit-talking me? and I didn't have any chance to defend myself. You just immediately, in the same podcast, right next to each other, said, CPS call was very traumatic. And then you said, fuck Ian and Anissa. And you linked those together, you kind of layered those flavors, and then Anissa and I got a bunch of harassment.
No, Ian, that was a really big thing to leave out. It was a really important detail, and it makes you look disingenuous. He essentially goes on to say that Ethan and Hila were shitting on him for not defending them when the CPS stuff had just happened and he didn't really have time to even respond. Ethan kind of already debunked that as well, but I'm not going to get into that so much. Regardless, you could have left it in. You could have mentioned that that's maybe why they were so upset. Be a little bit more understanding. Have a little bit more empathy, if you will, because I don't know. I wouldn't be as mad if somebody got upset like that with me if they are just actually being really emotional because their children could have gotten taken away from them. I'd understand that. Maybe I'd reach out and be like, hi, I didn't have time to respond or give you any support because it just happened. Sure, maybe then they'd like apologize, take the thing down and be like, okay, my bad. But no, making a fucking video on him doing like the L dance or whatever the fuck that is. I don't know what you kids call it these days. The Fortnite dance. I don't know. You think that was really a mature response to this? You're sitting there calling Ethan the immature one while you're doing that fucking shit. That whole opening just shows how immature and unempathetic you are. Come on, man. Stop fucking kidding yourself. There's also the whole creator clash thing. Ian starts out his content deputy, the second video, by blaming Ethan for the failure of Creator Clash, failing to acknowledge that any of it is because of his own failings. So yeah, this is the drama up until this point. So let's take a deeper look into all of this. Now, I'll tell you why I'm bothered by it, and I'm sure a lot of the past fans of iDubbbz can agree with me here. The new content cop isn't a content cop. It's not a good content cop, that's for sure. It's moral grandstanding at its finest in comparison to the old content cops, which pointed out that Ian has definitely done some problematic things himself and still is kind of an edgelord, but at least an edgelord who stays in his own lane. Besides, you know, calling out people who just, like, are shitty. I mean, so many people do that, come on. That doesn't make you a mean or bad person to call someone out on their hypocrisies. Some of the stuff he did was definitely edgy. Probably he could have just left it out of like the video entirely, but it was done for shock value, and it was because a lot of people wanted to see Ian bring all of this stuff that people have like done in the past to their front door. You know, give them a taste of their own medicine, if you will, which is why the original Content Cup was so fucking successful. And again, he doesn't notice the obvious hypocrisies in his current content, like calling Ethan's podcast an emotional dumping ground when Ian himself has said on his own podcast that he emotionally dumps.
This is your emotional dumping ground. It's horrible. This is not what podcasts are. So I think that's, for me, that's one of the reasons is it's like, oh, I just need to sometimes dump a little bit. And I also like talking.
And yeah, if we let any of that enter our fucking lives, we'd kill ourselves.
Kill yourself.
At least old iDubbbz was aware that he was doing equally edgy shit. I mean, if you just look at this clip, he already makes fun of himself within the first few seconds of the video, talking about Jinx Reload.
We've all made content that we're not very proud of. Maybe it was a cringy Gangnam Style video from back in the day. Possibly a Slenderman video that you look back and say, ooh, that was pretty gay of me. Maybe you combined both of them and you did a cringy Slenderman Gangnam Style video.
Like, that self-awareness also gave it some personality and made Ian more likable. Now he's just constantly in this state where he just can't fucking help but deny that he is any of these things, that he's ever done anything wrong. He has to morally grandstand and act like he's the fucking protector of other content creators.
I feel very insulted, and I feel defensive, and I feel like I am speaking up for a lot of people who have problems with you, and a lot of people who have been on the receiving end of your harassment.
I'm just doing this because I think that I need to stand up for the little guy. Shut the fuck up, dude. Now, I watched through all of the old Content Cop because I wanted to prepare myself for this video a little bit, and in the light of all the new drama, a lot of stuff didn't age well.
Revenue brothers, more like money-grubbing Jews. Money-grubbing Jews end their fucking career. End their career, I say lynch them. Look at his glasses. What a Jew.
Ian, you are dumb. You are morally grandstanding in the new Content Cop, which you said you never wanted to do again, and it looks even more hilarious when you see all of the things you've said and done before. Your empathy meter is only 10% of the way there, and that's being generous. You don't understand why people are mad at you, why your recent videos aren't doing well, and why this was a bad way to go about addressing Ethan. And that's what empathy is all about, right? Understanding people, being able to put yourself in their shoes, right? But you clearly don't know how to do that. You know what, Ian? Maybe you should go back to your first Content Cop video. I think there was a bit of advice there that could really help you out right now. You know, maybe go the Jinx Reload route and use different bucket hats in each video. You know, maybe that'll save your like to dislike ratio.
Holy shit. He doesn't think he's outdoing his competition because his videos are improving. He thinks he's outdoing his competition because he has a different backdrop every 4 videos. Don't misunderstand me now, I'm not talking about his bedroom. That all stays the same. What I'm talking about are bucket hats. This is the secret formula to maintaining a positive like-dislike ratio.
Yes, and then there's all the creator clash accusations. I wanted to touch a little bit on this because, I don't know, man, this was honestly, like, the first few seconds of watching the Content Deputy, I don't even know what the fuck to say to this. Ian seems to believe that Ethan is at fault for creator clash not really working out now, even though there's plenty of reasons why creator clash is not working. Some people, like Harley Morenstein, you know, the guy who does Epic Mealtime, left because of iDubbbz's video. The event felt more tied to all of the toxic drama, so it seems like he didn't really want to be a part of that. I can understand that. Plus, it also came out that the fighters were told that they would get paid equally, and then they found out later that some people were actually getting paid more than others. That's not even mentioning the fact that the past Creator Clash has had its own controversies, which probably contributed towards more people wanting to just drop out. And not even just dropping out, but people just not wanting to come to the event at all. Stuff about him using a lot of the money for galas and other shit the event just didn't need, a bigger stadium and all that. So obviously less money was going out to charity, which was kind of the whole fucking point of Creator Clash. It's Ian's own undoing, and Ethan had very little to do with the Creator Clash failing. So it looks even more pathetic that Ian is practically begging people to join Creator Clash in his Content Deputy video, saying that he's, you know, leaving it and he's not going to be partaking in it and his wife is not going to either. Another video kind of brought this point up and I thought I just might mention it, but this guy right here had mentioned that he doesn't really believe that they aren't getting any sort of cut from this. Yeah, I mean, you've been working on this for so long. I really can't believe that you're just stepping down and you're not taking anything out of this after putting so much time, effort, and money into it. It's just hard to believe, dude. And after all the other, like, disingenuous shit, like, how is anyone supposed to believe you anymore? Nobody can take this as something you're doing in good faith. In conclusion, this situation is a mess, and Ian is a hypocrite. Do I think iDubbbz is going to change? No, not really. He's been doubling down, saying shit on Twitter, doing more streams with Hassan. It's just going downhill from here. And honestly, it makes me really sad because I really did like his old content. It's not because he said edgy, edgelord words and slurs and all that stuff. It was just because the content itself was quite entertaining. And he did make a lot of good points about people's abhorrent content, right? Nobody has perfect content, and I feel like it's fine to point out when somebody's content is bad, maybe even problematic, or I don't even want to say problematic, that feels like such a woke word. More like that it could cause certain issues, like with the toy content creator channels, the ones who like bring their kids on and film them, constantly showering them in these big toys. yeah, you're probably just setting your kid up to become a spoiled brat later on. And also just hurting them by, like, forcing them to do this content over and over again. A lot of the kids in the videos seem tired and like they don't want to be there. Honest to God, Ian probably still could have done Content Cop, but just change some things a little bit if he didn't want to use like too much edgy humor anymore. A good example is actually this creator again. Cameron F305 made his own Content Cop on iDubbbz. And honestly, I watched it and it just brought me back to the old days. Did he use any sort of like edgy words, slurs, or anything like that? No, not really. And yet, it still was really successful. It did really well, showing that the formula still can work today. Yeah, he could have continued making Content Cop. He just could have left out all of the, like, slurs and shit like that. He didn't have to drop it completely. And even still, I think Cameron was coming from a good place. He clearly was, like, a past iDubbbz fan. I was just giving iDubbbz some actual hard-hitting criticism. Not to, like, bring the guy down, but rather be like, hey, you could do this better. So yeah, personally, I don't think he had to stop. He could have kept making content like he used to, but no, he chose to stop completely and then suddenly bring it back and change the whole format to be somehow worse. I still have some hope deep down in my heart, because, like I said, I used to like Ian's old content. Despite the edginess of it, you know, some parts of it were just really good and really hard-hitting and kind of inspired me to do commentary in the first place. Part of me still hopes that maybe he'll just wake up one day and be like, wow, that was fucking dumb of me. Why did I do any of that? You know, maybe grow some actual empathy for once. But there's also a large part of me that kind of doubts that. But I'm still gonna hold on to that little bit of hope. And we'll see where things go. And I guess that's that on that.